Hello, welcome to episode 13 of Tomato. My name is Trent Ningle, and today we're going to be talking about how young people suck, ourselves included.
That was rather harsh. It's more about, the differences we've seen in between when we were in elementary school and what elementary schoolers are like now.
Yes.
And how they respect older kids, students, and teachers, respectfully.
Yep.
In the small amount of time, there has been a complete decaying of
Hierarchy?
Yeah, the hierarchy. Oh my god, the hierarchy is not
hierarchy
existing.
of seniority.
Well, it still exists. They just pretend it doesn't exist.
Would we like to start out with the bus rides? Oh my gosh!
Thank you. That's what I was
Bus
thinking
rides.
of.
When we were in elementary, the little kids sat at the front,
Yes.
and then the big kids sat in the back.
And
We had a
always
healthy
like-
fear. We had a healthy
Yeah.
fear of the old kids.
Yeah.
Not like an unhealthy fear.
older
We
kid
respected
caught-
them.
Yeah, if an older kid caught you in the back, he would pick you up and throw you in the front,
Yes.
Or just ask you to move.
depending on
They
their day.
basically ask you to move, and by that they are telling you to move, or else they would
Yes.
throw you to the front of the bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was a
Respectfully, of
delicate-
course.
Yes.
Respectfully, of course.
It was a delicate balance we all agreed to.
Yep.
But now, not so much.
Yeah.
Every kid that's 3 feet tall can just sit in the back and then
Yeah.
call
Yeah,
you a
and,
butthead.
and it's not.
Children have one seat for their book bag, one seat for their feet, one
Yeah.
seat for their head.
Yeah.
Then they're sprawled across the aisle.
I
Yeah.
remember last year when I was riding the bus, there were some really small children that were sitting in the back. We had seniors on our bus.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets to when you have essentially every bus ride is overcrowded. And it's there's not really much you can do about that. That in and of itself you can't really complain about. But when you have little kids who can fit, I remember sitting 4 children in one seat.
Yep.
And when you have little kids sitting with 2 people in a seat, and then the big kids sitting 3 people in a seat, it just doesn't feel right.
No.
Yeah. It's not right at all.
Even when we were in 5th, 6th grade, we were still super respectful of that kind of crap.
Yeah.
We let them have their seat while there was 3 of us crammed into one.
I know.
I think this is just us complaining about not getting the same privileges. But no, this is different.
Yeah.
Because you can see it with how they treat their parents as well, or just teachers.
You'll see kids, I don't know if it's because of what they're watching on the internet or if, I don't know, I'm not sure. But it seems like they're way more aware of real concepts than we were at that age, such as curse words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, definitely.
It has to do with the prevalence of the internet, I feel like. Well, because when we were all growing up, YouTube wasn't as big as it was. It was big, but it wasn't as big as it was today.
Huge.
Yeah, and it wasn't
crazy as
and
it
the
is
people we watched were just regular Minecraft
Yeah.
people.
now. Yeah, they're
That's
pretty
just
mundane
about it.
people.
Yeah. Now it's they're all watching Jake Paul and
Yes.
all those
Suicide
people.
Forest.
Which, I think that's what it is. It's the cultural decay of what is acceptable of a young person.
I know,
Yes.
and this has happened in the past 4 years.
Oh yeah, it's slowly. You can see it slowly happening. It's been
And,
happening since 2016.
Yeah.
You walk
I
to the
know.
elementary and you hear your teachers talking about how bad the kids are, and it's I don't. And our class, we never really had big bullying problems,
No.
so we were
No.
kind of good on that front. But
And whenever a teacher, sorry,
But-
Jack, what?
we never went psycho like you hear sometimes.
Yeah, the only thing a teacher would get mad at us about would be forgotten homework, and that's about it.
There's just something weird about hearing a little 6th grader talk to sophomores and cuss them out. There's something really unsettling about it. It just doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
I don't know. The unspoken rules are just gone.
But I also, now that I'm thinking about it, because I've been thinking a little bit, it's not just the kids' problem. It's these millennials that are turning into parents
Yeah.
Oh,
that
okay.
are
Yes.
so lazy.
I do have a story. So you guys know the pickup line or the drop off lines in the front of the school?
Yeah.
Oh
It
yeah.
used to be like you just if you want to park, you go to the other side of the crosswalk, park your
Yeah.
car, and take your kids in. Well, now there's like every time, like the first 3 spots are just taken up by parents who park and then take their kids in.
Yeah, it's
Oh
stupid.
yes,
That is
it's
designed
so
for
annoying.
all.
It's just like that's not what that's designed for. You drop them off and then go.
Yes.
Yeah, this should be like a 5-second process.
Yes.
Exactly. But that's a little besides the point.
Right.
Mhm. Oh yeah, and back to like the little kid, like little 6th graders cussing out sophomores and juniors and some even seniors. I remember, what was it? Somebody, Jack, was it you who said if they went to a bigger school, they would have gotten beat up by now?
Oh yeah, they
That's-
were.
That's not how you. That's not how you talk to people 2 times
Yeah.
bigger than you.
And like I don't want to like incite violence or anything upon them, but yeah,
Yeah, but they're
if you talk like that to someone who's like ill-tempered or having a bad day, like that's how you get hurt. And I'm not going to hurt
Yeah.
you, but that is how it happens. Is when you
Like, not that it should be
Yeah,
accepted
there
that
are-
it's the case, but it is a
Yeah,
possibility that could
acceptable,
happen.
But
exactly yes.
yeah, there are people out there that will do that.
Well, yeah, there's a reason people say your mouth will most likely get you in trouble.
Oh yeah, and also these younger people that have grown, like we've only gotten like social media maybe in middle school, but these people are growing up with social media their entire lives.
Oh yeah,
And
I
now
remember
they
there was like 1 or 2 girls in our class that like had a phone in like 3rd grade, and we all thought it was amazing.
Yeah.
I know. And it wasn't like, but now people today,
What
it's
the
like
heck is a
3rd graders.
grader gonna do with a phone?
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
They're gonna play
the
Subway
first
Surfer.
device,
That's what they're
the
gonna
first
play.
device that Jack and I ever had, because we got it for Christmas, was we both got Kindles for when we were in 3rd grade, and we had those until we were like in 5th grade.
But those didn't
I
have
remember
like media capabilities.
like the thing I remember back in what was like 4th or 5th grade, the most popular thing was a lighter collector. It was like it was like an app on the phone where you could get points in a game, and then you get like special like things.
I
on
don't
your
remember
phone,
that.
And
Remember that?
I remember that, but it was like
It was a different time.
I think it was a different time. And now these little kids, they can go on like social media and say whatever they want, and then not.
They've already learned the
Yeah.
concept of hiding behind a screen
Right.
Yeah,
at age 11.
And
Well,
I
that's,
know.
Reflective of how they act in public, and it's like you're amazed that they do say things to people's face.
yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
think there's anything wrong with
Oh,
it.
oh,
Yeah.
they don't think they'll get. There's
It's
no.
because
We're
of the
saying that their
people.
morale is completely different.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And that kind of reminds me, like when you go into restaurants and you see those little kids with their iPads and stuff,
Oh,
and they're
yeah.
just sitting
Yeah.
there with watching YouTube at full volume,
Yeah.
and the parents are like, "Oh yeah, nothing's wrong with it. They're just eating, having a good time."
No.
Right.
Can you please learn how to parent correctly? Like you're completely ruining your the experience for everyone around you.
Yes, you're at a
Mhm.
restaurant.
Your
to eat.
inability to parent your own kids is ruining everyone's night.
Yes. You're in a
Well, it's like-
restaurant to eat, not to play on your iPad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like it's not just like super little kids. I've seen like 6th and 7th graders do it too when they're on their phones watching TikTok at full volume.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like tell people how to parent their children, but I don't.
Yeah.
think
Please
that-
be more respectful to other people because the world doesn't revolve around you. You know?
Mhm. Oh, and back to electronics and when we were in elementary. I remember, well, it was like 3rd or 4th grade. My mom got a BlackBerry phone that had one game on it.
a
I
black.
thought that was the best thing in the world. That
Yeah.
like that one game, I would spend like an hour playing it, and I thought it was like the future.
My eyes were open when I got my first DS, and that's saying something.
Gosh, yes.
because just the thought that like, oh, you can have this thing to play games with, and it almost fit in your pocket. That's insane.
Yeah.
I know that was the same thought for me with the BlackBerry phone or whatever.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
like,
crazy.
I don't want to say like we should deprive them of these things, but
Yeah,
I think
but
it should be now more than ever. There should be like,
Limited.
well, no, there should be more
not
awareness.
lim-
And
More
'cause,
learning
they just-
involved with
they
it, so they
just
can learn
have
how to
to
be more
learn-
respectful.
like we're
To
not
be more
actively
respectful in
seeking
public.
out- we're not professionals, but we're still like finding the problem. So I think there should be more awareness raised about what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. Because like you see, when there's little restrictions online, the kids go to like athletes and people with a lot of followers, and sometimes those people don't have. And you know, like if you have an older sibling, you're gonna think that like, I don't know, if they're into rap, you're gonna think that rap is cool.
Yeah.
And so when you grow up with that like standard, or when you are allowed freedom to determine your own standards from such a young age, and it's like, no, I'm not. There should be a total societal like actual change that happens,
Yeah.
not necessarily on the parental front, but as a community.
Yeah. We need to change what is respectful in public versus what isn't. Because,
Right.
you know, with this increase of technology, things have to change.
Yes.
Because you have to learn to adapt socially and mentally to these changes that are happening around you. Because with different things changing, different social statuses and the proper etiquette will also change with those things being added.
Right.
Mhm.
You don't want
Because
this
the
new
situation-
etiquette to be what we're seeing, though.
Yeah, because the situation itself is changing, so that means what is correct by society should also change. Because life is going to change, technology is going to change. We just have to make sure that as a society we accept changes that could positively or negatively come along with that. And if they're positive, embrace them. If they're negative, try and prevent them from happening.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there's sometimes you hear people say like, well, we shouldn't even have to discuss this. And it's like, well, oftentimes we do. Because there are new standards, we have to.
Because it's overlooked.
Yes. If let's like when new opportunities arise, they have to be addressed a different way.
And we've seen time and time again, things that are overlooked normally don't end out pretty well.
Even if it's not in the short term, the long term effects are obvious.
Yeah. Like these kids, let's say you let them do whatever the heck they want and they live out their lives, whatever, they graduate. How are they gonna govern this generation?
Or how are they going to
This
raise their
world?
kids? How are they going to raise their kids?
How are they
which
gonna
will
raise their
then
kids?
go
But
and yeah,
they're gonna be the next us. We're gonna grow old and die, and they're gonna be what's left. If they screw us
They're
over,
going to be the next
we're
us.
done.
Really, we are also the next us.
Yeah, to be honest, we're up next in line, and
And you know, like you even see like things as recent as TikTok are like having drastic effects on people's behaviors.
oh my god,
Mm-hmm.
Like not even among like tiny children, but even among like people our age. That's why
even
Yeah.
adults,
they-
even
kids are-
adults.
yeah, they're even adults.
You know, it's like with the times come new opportunities, and with the opportunities, you need to reevaluate what
standards.
standards and acceptability, and that's like putting it off will only result in more decay.
More damage. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
just to the further decline in what's socially accepted.
And like not comparing social media to the Roman Empire, but you see like the Roman Empire started out fairly moral, I think one could say, and then they collapsed because they started treating each other as lions and having wars over religion, and they just kind of let things go until it was too far to be fixed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's definitely an example that's more on the more severe side, but yes, I feel like certain lessons from that can be attributed to
But
this situation.
to make a clear cut like example,
Yeah.
It's something everyone should know about, that they should have learned about.
They
Right,
should have.
Which, yes, keywords should have.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause I'm
Back in
sure
like
there's some people.
sixth grade history.
And like there have been a lot of people that have tried to effectuate change, and like even when we were younger, like when they'd make us go to the assemblies, we were like, no, that's stupid, and I still think it's stupid. And like going about this like fake, like I don't know, like making yourself a Jesus character where it's like we're perfect, follow us to be good. It's like children see that and they're like, no, why would I do these
They
super
see through
outlandish
it.
things?
Yeah, they see
Yeah,
through it
they
and think
see
that it's a hollow. They think it's hollow. They feel like
The same thing with the dentist. They tell you to floss every day. No one flosses every day.
Yeah, that is.
Very true.
There are people out there that don't even brush their teeth every day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's a
I'm
whole
not
nother ballpark,
Jesus is
though.
wrong because I am a firm supporter of Jesus. But when people try to act like, when people set the standard of Jesus and perfection, then people are not going to believe you because it's like, well, you're
They're
asking me to
setting.
do all these outlandish things and completely upend my lifestyle.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're setting the standards higher than the standards they're living their own lives.
Right.
and people aren't going to want to change their standards if they feel like that you are judging them by their current standards and saying that they need to change because of themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You need to look at the way you approach the problem and how you want to fix it, because you don't want to seem like you are judging them and saying that they are the problem. You just want to get your point across without showing that, so that they will be open to change.
And that little spiel where you say like, "This is for me too," like, no, that also doesn't do anything. They see right through that.
Yeah, because you also have to make sure that people can't see through it, because if we do see through it, we'll be a lot less open to that change because we see it as being unjust and untrustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
It just has to start with the little things. Like, I don't know, maybe in school we should start cracking down on what we hear children say, and like set the bar by doing and like show in everyday life. Like, this is the new
Yes.
standard. We need to follow this. If you don't, there will be consequences.
Yep.
And like just the little things.
Taking
Things
matters in your own hands.
parents aren't reinforcing that at home. So then, if they're not reinforcing that at home, the kids are all automatically going to be attributed to having that factor. So they're going to immediately think that, oh, this is fine. Going into school, I talk like this at home. Nothing's wrong with it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And like some of that, there are very hard situations with like split parents or like not the nuclear family unit. But I think that's where you need things like social institutions, like church, like school rules. You need social institutions to reinstate those values and those morals. And that's like, even if you're not a firm believer, you should believe in the concepts of religion
Mm-hmm.
and the morals that
Concepts
come.
of just
You need
good.
morals to follow to keep your life in order or whatever.
Because I've seen
Something to live
online,
by.
like I've seen people who say that yes, they don't believe in Jesus or anything, but then they still follow the moral principles from the Bible because they feel like, yes, those moral principles are important and they should be followed. Like, yes, they don't believe in Christianity, but they believe in the concepts of it.
Right. And like, I mean, from a religious standpoint, that doesn't necessarily save, but it's a step in the right direction. It breeds morality.
Yeah. You don't have to be religious, you just have to not be a jerk.
And like, yeah, like obviously I would prefer people to be religious, but starting with those moral standards would enable that theoretically without law forcing you to be religious. That's like, I've been reading a book and it's all about how, like, Ben Shapiro wrote the book, but he talks about how limited government is what we need, because when the government mandates something, it loses all its value. You need social institutions to effectuate morality, because if you give the government the power to define morals, then they also have the power to completely destroy morals.
Yeah.
I think it has to start with social institutions.
But
That's
also
how
in
most things do get
situations,
started, though.
Right.
The social institutions.
And like preferably it would be able to start at home, but more and more we're seeing that the nuclear family unit is falling apart.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think there has to be a rebuilding not a destruction of social institutions, but a reshaping to fit the current standards.
Mhm.
And also social institutions, going with my religion on this, you don't want to try and force those thoughts down their throat, because if you are constantly forcing it down their throats, especially as younger people, they are more inclined to change. But with the older generations, and I'd say even us more so,
Right.
if these thoughts are constantly being shoved down our throats, trying to get us to submit and believe in them, or just trying to convince us, we are naturally going to be less inclined to believing in them or just following them in general. So I feel like we can't just go out and just try and shove all the information down us, like down our throats, to try and get us to like conform or just believe in what they're trying to say. Because if you do that, we aren't going to want to, because we'll get the assumption that you have ill intentions of doing that.
And that's
not what you want,
I think
because that'll just turn more people away.
I think the best way you spread said morals is by doing and by acting on it. Like show by doing. Like that's why like the assemblies is like you're telling them and you're like, yep. I don't want to say yelling at them, you're speaking at them. It's not like, okay, every day look at what I do. This is what is right. Like, and not even like telling them this is right, just letting them see what you do day in and day out. Because then if they view you as a role model, they will start to mimic it, especially from a younger age.
And I feel like it's also got to do with trust, because for most of the people that come in for those assemblies and stuff, we don't know them. They could be living entirely different lives outside of the set that they're saying, that they're talking about, and we don't know. So I feel like, yes, it has to do with trust as well, because how do we know that they're following their principles that they're setting for us to follow?
Honestly, I think we've talked about that a lot at our assemblies. It's like people say these crazy things, like every morning they get up and like psych themselves up in the mirror or something. It's like, no, there's no way you actually do that.
They might, but it's just we don't know. That's the thing.
Yeah. They're just some random person the school found on the internet and hi.
Yeah. Sorry, then you can go.
No, I'm done.
As a group, I don't think we think of them as people. We just think of them as I don't mean to this be rude or anything, but just kind of a vessel that the school or other organizations are using to try and force their information down on us.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's better ways to do it.
Because if it's just one person up ahead of hundreds of other people, we're most likely not going to be seeing them as a person. If it's more one-on-one, then yes, we'll be more inclined to treat them like a person, and then we'll also have that emotional connection of having an actual one-to-one conversation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that also has to go into how to, I know this is a bit different, but like online schooling and stuff that isn't as effective, because it also has to do with those bonds that students have with teachers.
You need personability.
Exactly. You need to have that connection with people to be able to transfer information. The information is transferred far easier if you know that person. It's just just how humans are. We tend to be able to receive information better if it's right in front of us and we have a connection to that person.
We're very visual.
Oh
Yeah, very.
And there's other times to try and use fear to try and change like our opinions on this stuff, which in some situations I believe can work, but I feel like in others, yes, it just attributes to that willingness for us not to pay attention to what they're saying, because then we see they're trying to sway our opinion with stuff that can easily be seen through.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to use the driving thing for an example. And at driver's ed, they said like 25% of all accidents happen within, 10 miles of your house?
Yeah.
The way that they say that, the way that they worded it, at least the teacher that I went to did, was they worded it like, you can go on a long drive and the most likely chance to have an accident is at your house, which it has to do with, it's manipulating the data.
Yeah.
The reason that statistic is like that is because that is the average amount of people that drive away from their house. So if the average person only drives about 10 miles from their house in cities, that's what the data is going to reflect, because it's not taking into account the amount of driving they're doing before they get into that accident.
Right.
And that's just many things that people use to manipulate data and statistics to try and sway public opinion. It's a thing that you need to be careful of, especially when you're like watching TV and commercials.
The problem with it is, though, is that it's everywhere.
Is safer. Yeah,
Because
and it's hard to figure out what's true.
Work or method.
What was it? It was some causation doesn't. What is it?
It's correlation. Correlation does not equal causation. I mentioned that in one of our previous episodes as well. That was the example with homicides and ice cream sales.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a video on statistics and how they can be manipulated. I'll have Trenton put the link to that video in the description, so I'll send you that video after we're done recording.
Yep,
and it's a really interesting video.
Yep, it should be up in the right-hand corner right now.
And in the description as well, in case you missed it.
Yep.
But it's a really interesting video, and I'm not sure if everything is completely accurate because I don't follow this stuff as much, and maybe I don't understand it as much as the average person might, but I feel like it is an eye-opener, and it can help you trying to figure out these biases and stuff that is used to try and manipulate data. Mm-hmm. Because it can be extremely misleading on how some people display certain data. And it's really been an eye-opener for me, especially when I've seen stuff like this happen, like in real life, and I've seen news they're putting out and understanding how they make that data look more positive or more negative.
Mm-hmm. I think that's like a testament to why these assemblies and the efforts that people have made haven't really been working. And that's why I think that the learning by watching, like teaching by doing, that type of stuff, I feel like that would resonate most within the students because, and like you've seen with, like in elementary, like every year you go through, there's like a new set of rules for each teacher, and in the beginning you think it's so weird, but then by the end of the year it's just normal.
Yeah.
And I think if you set the standard, if you slightly set the standard higher, and like you just slightly crack down on, let's say, cursing the first year, and then you let students adjust to that, then it'll just eventually become the new normal.
Yep.
And it doesn't require any sort of like, I don't know, call to action or any sort of outlandish claims. It's just the little things like, like sometimes our school is really bad at like keeping their word on
enforcement. That is one thing that needs to be kept. It needs to be everything needs to be enforced equally per every student, no matter what day, what time of year. It always needs to be the exact same.
So, and when you enforce rules, part of it is like you have to be the bad guy for a little bit, and it's like you know eventually it will be the normal, but for now you have to enforce the rules even when it's hard, even when like you're gonna look bad. I'm not saying the school is like afraid of that or anything. It's just that like you have to stick to your word if you want to really show them this is the new normal. You have to. Yeah. And it's like every year, and the elementary teachers knew like every year the students are going to struggle with my method, but after a few weeks it'll all be fine. They won't even think about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's clockwork.
It's going to take a little, but you have to start eventually.
You also have to see that you have to acknowledge if things aren't working out and you have been trying them for a while. You have to realize that there is a problem. That's something that I like to say. I don't know if I heard it from somewhere, just subconsciously, but self-recognition is the first step to improvement. You can't improve if you can't recognize the problem in the first place.
Yeah.
So if you realize that there is a problem, that's the first step to actually solving it. The hard thing is finding that problem.
Yeah, is also putting yourself in that person's shoes. I feel like that also helps to contribute to improve what you're doing and to make it so it's more comfortable for the students and yourself.
I just think in a lot of situations, self-reflection is extremely important, and it isn't used as much as it should be, because we need to recognize when things aren't going as well and what can be improved upon. And I've noticed, yes, that is something as a whole I think that humans should learn how to do better, because I feel like that could benefit us as a whole.
Have a bit more empathy.
Have a bit more compassion. That's all we really need.
this is kind of turned into a how to make change video.
It is.
It is. We started with bus seats, and now we're to this.
Yeah.
There is definitely change that needs to happen in regards to the new normal and what is acceptable and what is not.
You could definitely tell that all of us like to give our 2 cents. We just don't show it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, we're turning into those little kids that post things on social media. And
Oh no.
Oh no.
you know what? Tomorrow we're marching right into the office and you guys are on the what is our student council?
The student
we're
board.
not on the student council.
We're the student
board.
body. The student body.
You got
Yeah,
some
we're
influence.
officers. Yes, we do.
Not the same.
Especially me.
Yeah, you're the
Captain
president,
of
Cole.
pain.
But and I think that might be a good place to end it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To end it.
Before this conversation gets even more deep into this
Yes.
until it just goes off the rails.
Yeah.
We aren't really directing it all at little children. I don't want to like bully the little kids and everything. That was normal, but
Bully them into submission.
yeah.
So I guess if you liked the video, you can like it. Subscribe if you want to see more content that might be.
Okay, no.
Mildly
This is super monotone. Okay, listen here, fellas.
listening.
If you like the video, like it.
No.
Smash
You
like,
keep it-
break it with your nose, baby. Let's go.
You can
Big
keep
dubs all around.
it, but come on.
If
I
you
think-
like our
Smash that like
content,
button.
please comment. What would you like us to talk about next? We really have run out of ideas.
don't
it
be
is
cheesy, but keep it to the
10:30 at night.
All right.
I want to go to bed. I'm tired
No,
of
I'm
balls.
tired.
We were
Screw
debating making
this.
an episode about door handles versus doorknobs. If that isn't a
Yes,
representation
that
of
is
how out
true.
of ideas we
That's
are, I
what
do not
gang.
know what
Do
it
it.
is.
Doorknob gang.
All right.
This is
So thanks for
Just
watching.
hold it hostage until we get more video
Have a good
ideas.
day.
Do as we say or go to the gulag.
Yeah.
Did someone say
that.
gulag?
Do not keep that in, Trenton.
I'm keeping that in.